All right, so today on the show we have Scott Caldwell. Scott Caldwell is the Director of Operations for the AT&T Championship Tournament in San Antonio, Texas. The purpose of this interview, honestly, is to learn what goes into managing a golf tournament over the weekend, a PGA or any type of worldwide tour, whatever. Like, what really goes on at the top level and at the course level. Scott, welcome.
Thanks for having me, David.
So, Scott, let's start from the beginning. Obviously, you love golf, right?
I do. I've been playing since I was a little kid, about 6 or 7 years old.
Did you play competitively in like high school and college or anything like that?
I did. I grew up playing junior golf in and around Austin, Texas, and played high school golf there. Thought about walking on at college, but just realized I wasn't quite good enough.
Okay. Now, you realized that you weren't good enough. Was it one of those things where it's just like, you know what, I'm just going to get a good degree, get a normal type of job, and then just have fun playing golf, whenever I can, as much as I can? Or was it like, I'm going to find a way to stay in the game?
Well, I've always been interested in sports and golf in general, and when I was in college, I really wanted to find a way to find a career in either sports or golf, and that was kind of my goal in college. And it just so happens that I was able to find something in the golf industry, and been very fortunate.
So how did you get started? I mean, off the top of the interview, I'm saying Director of Operations. That sounds huge. That sounds like, wow, what does he do? Like,
it probably sounds bigger than what it is, but no, I graduated from Texas Tech in 2002, and I moved back to Austin, and at that point, they were starting a Champions Tour event there, and I was out of school, and they had an internship position open, and I had all the time in the world and came cheap, and that's how I got my start.
So that internship position, what were some of the things that you did every day? Was it more so like, hey, go get coffee? Or was it like, hey, take these set of plans over to so-and-so? And,
It was a lot of data entry. And I was our Pro-Am coordinator, so it was a lot of entering forms for Pro-Am participants and making sure all the sponsors were lined up and putting the groups together, checking handicaps, inventorying all the Pro-Am gifts. It was kind of stuff like that. And I was also the media intern, so it was a lot of talking to some media members in Austin and getting whatever they needed and making sure they had credentials and media rooms set up and all that kind of stuff.
Now, I'm going to be kind of blunt here. That kind of sounds like it kind of sucks. Like as far as like, your first, I know it was an internship, don't get me wrong, but like,
right.
Was that overwhelming at all for you?
It was a little bit, and that event was a first-year event too, so that was a whole other element that was thrown in. It was new for everybody. It was new to the area, to the golf course, to the tour. So there was a lot of things going on that you had to be prepared for. It was kind of expect the unexpected.
Wow. So how did, take me back to that, maybe not so much the internship part, but just take me back to like your thought process and just, I know for me, when I'm doing something that I really don't like, but I understand it's an opportunity to get me closer to something, I have this cognitive dissonance where I just like lock into the end goal and everything else is, I have to do it, don't get me wrong, but I just
right.
say, hey, this is going to get me closer to playing ball. This is going to get me closer to the promotion I want. It's going to get me closer to whatever. How did your mind work?
It was kind of that same way as an intern. It was, be willing to do anything that's needed. No job was too difficult or too menial. It was just, hey, do this, get the job done. It'll get you closer to your goal in the end. And you just have to be flexible and just be willing to do whatever it takes. Nothing can be too small or, below you, or else you're never going to go forward.
Okay. Now, how long were you an intern for? Was it just for that one tournament, or sorry, that one?
It was for that. It was for that one tournament in 2003.
Okay.
And then got hired at that point.
By the same tournament?
Yes, by the same event in Austin.
Okay.
And the same company I still work for now.
Okay. So take us into some of the more. We'll get to day to day, but take us into what it means to do what you do. Obviously, the AT&T Championship tournament this year is October 21st through the 27th. It's not like you guys say, hey, it's not like January 1st rolls around like, all right, let's have a tournament on this date, and all right, see everybody back in July. Like what goes into setting up a tournament, a golf tournament?
It's funny. Whenever I tell people my job, they kind of look at me and go, "That's a full-time job." And I say, "Yeah, actually, believe it or not, it is. We have our event in October, and November's pretty busy with cleaning up and paying bills and all that kind of thing. And we do have a slow period over the winter months, but then spring comes around and people get interested in golf with the Masters, and you start getting your marketing materials ready and your kind of operations plan for the next year, and say, well, this tent, worked at this location, this one didn't, can we move this? How do we change this? How do we make the overall experience better for everyone, from players at the tournament, volunteers, spectators? It's kind of a year-round tweaking process from the year before.
So we're about 2, 3, well, maybe more like 3 months out from the tournament. Where along the lines of the process are you now? Is it more so finalizing things, or are you still trying to get all the balls, keep the balls in the air, and get things getting cemented before the tournament starts?
Most things are kind of finalized right now. There's still a couple of deals I need to get done with some vendors and some partners just to get ready for the next year. And the budget's always kind of a moving target, but we're kind of finalizing that, and we have a good idea of what worked last year and what we need to change. And, we're getting sponsors lined up for this year and just kind of getting the plan together right now. And really in August, September, we move into overdrive, especially when we move our offices out to the golf course full time.
Now, you mentioned dealing with vendors, sponsors.
Yes.
Shed some light on that. What does that mean? Is that like saying, hey, the winner gets, let's say the winner of, I don't know what the winner of the tournament gets, but let's say they get a car. Does that mean like talking with, Volkswagen, or like break down what that means for a vendor and for sponsors for us that don't know or don't deal with vendors and sponsors?
For me, vendors, it's people who build our grandstands, who build our bleachers, who build our tents, our signage company that does all the signs out on the golf course, bus companies, concessions, the power and AC people who, power up all the tents and air condition the tents for our sponsors. That's kind of what I mean by vendors. It's kind of a big group of people who come to the course a couple weeks out, and we start build, and kind of everything starts falling into place at that point.
Okay, that makes sense. What's one of your bigger, maybe not bigger, but one of your more important things that, like you're talking about stands. I didn't even think about stands or, concessions or things like that. What are some of the more impactful, more important things that you have to make sure that you are spot on in your assessment of leading up to the tournament?
I think a big one is hospitality, making sure our sponsors, the tent is set up correctly, that we have a good look on the golf course, that everything kind of ties in together, and there's an overall look and feel we want to have for the event. So it's making sure, a tent is done correctly, that it looks nice, we have a nice clean look, that the signage is correct, that all the tables and chairs and everything is set up right, and making sure we have enough buses for spectators, and making sure that the flow of traffic to the golf course, for buses and spectators works well. It's a lot of little things you don't necessarily think about, but when you kind of go to an event and take a step back and look at it all, you realize just kind of everything that goes on.
What are some of the coolest moments you've had, whether it's post-tournament and you're like, wow, maybe it was the first tournament, you're like, wow, I can't believe I did that,
Yeah.
or some unexpected great moments happened during the tournament, or, you and your staff or your crew, like, do something to save the day. Like, what are some of the cooler moments since you've been a director of operations for this tournament?
Well, one moment I remember in particular, when I was an intern in Austin, I think it was Sunday of the tournament, and I'm running through the parking lot to take something to the tournament office. I don't even remember what it was now. It was so long ago, but I almost ran into a couple people in the parking lot, and I said, "Oh, excuse me, I'm sorry." And I looked, and it was Jack Nicklaus and his wife. And I just realized, wow, I just almost ran over the greatest golfer of all time in the parking lot as an intern. I was like, man, yeah, I'm not going to last very long if I do that. But it's always cool. You get to meet some of the players and see them at events and functions. And for me, the trophy ceremony on Sunday after we have a champion is always fun, and getting to be on the 18th green and, maybe say hi, thanks for coming, appreciate you playing our event, and congratulations, and those sorts of things. And it's cool having met a few of the Champions Tour players and getting to know a few of them.
Now, for those of us out there who aren't familiar with golf tours, explain what the Champions Tour is.
The Champions Tour, it used to be called the Senior Tour. It is the professional golf tour for players that are 50 years of age and older. So it's the Fred Couples, Nick Price, Colin Montgomery just debuted today, Steve Elkington, and Hale Irwin, Tom Watson, those kind of guys. It's kind of it's a great tour to keep those guys competitive and playing golf with their buddies, basically. And I know a lot of those guys appreciate the tour and hanging out with old friends and rivals and playing golf.
Cool. So let's see. So what are some of the future goals that you have for the tournament? Whether it's just marketing or exposure or I don't know, community outreach. What are some of the goals that you have for the AT&T Championship going forward?
Well, I think our goal every year is to make it bigger and better. Just to have more sponsors, more tents, find ways to drive new people to golf and to our event in general, and have it become a true event in the community of San Antonio. And we, charity on the PGA Tour and the Champions Tour is always a big part of these tournaments. And, we'd love to increase our charity dollars and really become something the community can be proud of.
now, alongside with that, what are some of your personal goals? Whether it's just with the AT&T Championship or just in general in golf.
Well, I think the main one right now is to become a tournament director and be in charge of an event from top to bottom is my main goal right now. And I think my background in operations is kind of a good stepping stone, because with operations you get to see kind of every piece of the tournament as it evolves. It's kind of where everything with the event starts. So I think having done operations now for 9, almost 10 years, I think that kind of gives me one of the better backgrounds to reach that goal.
So you feel like you're pretty close to being able to take on a tournament director role wherever.
I sure hope so. You know, I feel more comfortable every year in my own skin and doing these events, and I go to 4 or 5 a year, so I think I have pretty good knowledge of how these things work and run.
Wow. So what are some of the lessons that you've learned along the way? Obviously, you started off. You've always had a love for golf, which is, I would say, no matter what you do, it's kind of nice to have a love for what you're doing. You know, that kind of thing.
It certainly helps.
Yeah, it helps a whole lot in some instances. But whether it's just starting off as an intern or 8, 9 years later, like what are some of the things that you can look back and say, wow, I did that, and this is what I learned from doing that.
I think the biggest thing I've learned is to be flexible. Even like I talked about earlier with an intern and willing to do anything, and it still holds true. You all have this goal of putting on this great event, so Saturday, Sunday before the tournament gets started, and you're out, meshing a restroom or, moving plywood or whatever it is, just being flexible and being willing to do anything. Same thing, sometimes you have this grand plan of how something works for the tournament, and then you get to it and you realize it doesn't quite work, so you have to be flexible and maybe tweak the plan a little bit and find a solution that works. So there's kind of a lot of problem solving that goes on, and there's a lot of long hours and hard work, but you have a lot of fun with all your friends that come in town during the tournament from other tournaments or vendors or sponsors. We kind of all get together for a week during the year, and it's almost like a reunion, because you see everybody for this week and you all have a kind of a common goal and you have fun and you get the job done and you get through it and you go, oh, it's over. And then kind of everybody goes out of town. It's like, I miss all my friends.
Yeah.
But the main thing is being flexible and being willing to adjust on the fly and getting the job done.
So, like, when you're talking about being flexible, another question I just thought of, how do you stay sharp? I mean, obviously, 1 week out of the year for the Champions Tour, you're on stage. The spotlight's on you.
Mm-hmm.
You watch other tournaments. You said you go to a couple every year. Like, what are some of the things that you focus on to stay sharp or stay ahead of the curve, if you will?
Well, it's funny, when I was a kid and, watch golf tournaments just to watch golf, and now I watch golf tournaments and I go, I like that 10, or I like the way they did this on 18, or I like that scoreboard. It's kind of funny how my eye has changed, where I still watch the golf, but I look at kind of everything around it and kind of say, oh, maybe, we'd like to try this or try that. But I think it also helps. Our company, ProLink Sports, runs 4 other Champions Tour events, and I'll go to each of those events for a week and a half or 2 weeks. So I think that helps me stay sharp, kind of keeps me in tournament mode, and see what our other tournaments are doing and kind of take ideas from that, what works, what doesn't work, and just kind of going to those events helps me stay sharp and a little bit more in that mode throughout the year.
Okay. The final question is, how often do you actually get to golf? Do you get to golf anymore now that you're the guy who's running the actual tournament?
It's funny. I have a group of guys I play with on Sunday mornings, and I'll tell them, oh, I'm not going to be here for the next 2 or 3 weeks. I'm going to a tournament. And they always ask, oh, are you going to go play? And I go, no, I'm not going to have any time to play golf. So I try to play as much as I can when I'm home, but people ask me when I go to these events, oh, are you going to play the course or have a chance to go to this course in town or that one? And I tell them, I'd never pack my clubs. I never have time. Once I go to a tournament, it's pretty much 24/7 working that event to get the event done. So I wish I had some opportunities to play when I go to these tournaments, but sadly I don't.
Okay, well, it's all seasonal, right?
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so here's where I put you on the stand. Well, not on the stand, but I give you the mic, if you will.
Sure.
Tell us, get on your soapbox about the AT&T Championship Tour this year. Tell us why, and just how cool it's going to be. No pressure, but just pump it up for us.
Absolutely. Well, our event is October 21st through 27th in San Antonio at the TPC San Antonio AT&T Canyons course. Got to be sure to plug the golf course. It's the perfect time of year to be in San Antonio. There's nothing like San Antonio in late October. The weather's great. It's not 102 degrees like it is now. The Riverwalk, there's always fun things to do in San Antonio, and we have such a spectacular golf course and facility with a JW Marriott resort there. It's just huge, and the golf course is very walkable, very easy, and there's some great hill country views. And you're going to see top golfers. You're going to see Price and Irwin and Lehman and Longer and Couples and all those guys, because we're the last regular season event before the Charles Schwab Cup. So we're kind of the last opportunity to gain points to get in that event. So it's just and we try and make it a fun golf event. And I think that's key to drive people out and just have fun.
Cool. Where can we find more about the tournament and about you online, whether it's Twitter, or whatever, what have you? Where can we find you online?
The tournament website is attchamp.com. We're also on Twitter at attchamp. Facebook, of course, AT&T Championship presented by Alcatel-Lucent is our page on Facebook. And my Twitter is @Scott_Caldwell.
Yeah, this was fun. I didn't, to be honest, I don't know what goes into, the preparation of a golf tournament. So it's kind of cool to hear that, it's not just about, getting guys in. It's about stands, it's about food, hospitality, buses, all these minor, well, not minor, but all these complementary parts that we don't really get to see till Friday, Saturday, Sunday that you spend months finalizing.
Right. It's a lot that goes on, and sometimes there's struggles along the way, but in the end, always works out, and we always have a champion on Sunday.
Cool. Well, Scott, thanks for doing the interview.
Thanks, David. Appreciate it.
All right. Thank you all for being a part of it.